Well, a very good day and welcome to the Elora Fergus podcast. I'm Ryan Joyce.
And I'm Barbie Boy.
And today we're talking about what is arguably one of the most iconic images of our area. Maybe the most. I don't know. What do you think, Barb?
Actually, I know where you're going, but I can honestly tell you it may be iconic, but it's certainly not my favorite. I know there'll be a lot of haters out there. But yes, I agree with you. It is one of the most iconic visuals.
And if you, the listener, are visioning in your mind the Tooth of Time, that is what we're going to chat about today with the one and only Pat Mestern, who is, of course, sharing so much wisdom with us, heritage and history and little tidbits and stories that you just wouldn't hear anywhere else. So thank you, Pat, for joining us again for another episode.
Thank you.
Well, Tooth of Time. Where do we start with this one?
By the way, I love the Tooth of Time. It's just not my favorite image. Go ahead. Sorry.
There were actually two Tooths of Time, one in Fergus, one in Elora. The one in Fergus was blown out of the water in 1855. It was at what called the High Falls. It was right at the dam in St. Andrew Street East, and they blew it out of the water because they wanted to build the dam. But the water feature was very similar, not as high possibly as the Elora one, but definitely if you go down and look at the limestone area there, you can see where the water ran down the side of it. Like it actually had a little bit of a curve to it too. But anyway, the Tooth of Time in Elora is very important, very, very important, because it's been written about since 1832.
And am I under the right knowledge here that it was also people wanted to blow it up as well?
Yes. Yes. When you see pictures of it by the time that they really wanted to blow it up in 1903, it desperately needed work. Otherwise, the spring ice would have taken it out at some point. And Grandfather Charlie was actually called by the owners of the mill, who actually had the right to blow the Tooth of Time out of the water if they wanted to, because he had been in the Italian army, and he was actually an explosive expert. He knew what to do with dynamite. He really did, yes. And so they called him and said, come over. They wanted to blow this thing out of the water. And he said, no, I won't blow it out of the water. But what I'll do is I'll try to repair it, make it stronger. And so they gave him 2 weeks to do that. I know. Grandmother said it was the worst job that he had ever undertaken. They had just been married. She was pregnant with their first child. They'd been married in April. This was June. So he had a crew, mostly the Landonis, who were relatives of both of them. And it was a terrible job. He did a good job of it, but just to get to the Tooth of Time, they waited until the water was as low as possible. They went out to the Tooth of Time. They could walk out. But they had to build the structure to pour the concrete, and they had to take the concrete from the shore to the tooth. And to do that, when they were working on the tooth, the guys had to tie themselves to the trees at the top of it. And the trees were ancient, but they weren't exactly trees that you want to tie yourself to, because they could fall over very easily. And of course, it rained, so the water level went up. But he did get it done. He actually did get it done. And it lasted until about 1927, when it needed work again. But by that time, he was elsewhere. He was actually in Newfoundland building bowstring bridges. And then I guess it was done again in 1980, reinforced again in 1980. But he did manage to save it. But when you look at what he had to do and what it looked like before.
How did they actually reinforce it, Pat?
Pardon? Oh, they literally had to build wooden structures around the back of it and then pour concrete into those structures. And they had to wait for the concrete to harden, to dry, before they could take the structures off. And they worked from very early in the morning to very late at night, to dark, because, as I said, he was only given 2 weeks to do it. Otherwise, the owners of the mill said they'd get somebody else to blow it up.
Nowadays, this would be a Property Brothers special, and they have 2-week deadline, and there'd be jewels and bedazzling on it. I think that's a fascinating story, and it's still pretty sturdy to this day.
Well, by the time that they redid it in 27, and then they redid it again in 1980, they built some. The concrete was really reinforced, and they put a bit on the sides too. Like, it was really a
I don't
good
know.
job.
How excited would either of you be to run on that between the 27 and 80? Would you have been like in a real hurry to go and stand on it?
No.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, like, when has anyone stood on top of the thing?
And it's standing on time.
Oh, yes. Kids used to do it all the time when the water was really low. Yeah, in the summertime, apparently. I mean, I never saw any of them do it, but there is one picture, and it's literally of Grandpa standing by the Tooth of Time, and there's not very much water, but they'd have to climb. I mean, I don't know how they got on top.
Yeah.
Of it. Yeah, I guess they would climb from the back. It wasn't too high at the back.
So
nowadays, you just have to climb to see it. Anyways,
that's right.
Play there, Pat? Like,
yes.
Like, where are you going, honey? I'm going to go play on time.
Yeah.
We'll down the tooth.
And do you know the time origin, where the Tooth of Time name came from? I mean, obviously it looks like a tooth, but is there a story about the name?
No, it's as long as I've ever heard about it, it's been called the Tooth of Time. And probably because it's just hanging there and it looks like a tooth, or somebody thought it was a tooth years ago. The interesting thing is that the First Nations people used to meet there. They would walk down, like the Hurons would come from Lake Huron. The Iroquois would come, the Neutrals would come, and that's where they would meet. Now, I'm not sure what they called it, but that was where they met at the tooth, because it was one of those landmarks that everybody could recognize.
So just so you guys know, I actually just looked it up. Thank you, Google, for being there in the middle of an interview. And it says, one, because of the way it juts out, appears like a tooth. And the other is the historical connection to the Elora Mill in 1903. The owner believed the rock was responsible for diverting water into the mill's foundation, leading to the collapse of the riverside wall.
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah, and that's why he wanted it blown up.
Really? Because he thought it was responsible for the problems.
That's right. So a year and a half later, Charlie was actually cementing the walls of the mill too, down there, which was a much easier job.
Wow.
Fascinating. I love these stories. We have to keep going with them.
Love it too. My goodness. Little bits of wisdom for your day. Well, so Pat, if someone listening is interested in learning, little bits of wisdom about our community, how would you recommend people do that?
Well, I would say that one of the things that they could do is actually go to the archives out at the museum, because they have a lot of information, especially about buildings, not so much about the natural features. I'm not sure, now where on earth they could get information about natural features or just really funny stories about Fergus.
Yeah, so do I, Barb. We're listening to EloraFergusPodcast.com.
Right.
I'll have you back many times, so just to hear your stories.
Thank you so much, Pat, for your wisdom today. Thanks again.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.